Hello, my name is Maria Figuera and this is Lopez. We are going to talk about single-use plastics, what it takes to make them, the impact they have on the environment, and what we can do to minimize those impacts. Plastic can be considered one of the world's greatest made materials that has allowed us to make technological and medical advancements that we have never seen before. From personal hygiene products to life-saving medical devices and even our clothing, plastic has given us the ability to change the world. Plastic is a petroleum-based material that comes from natural gas and is produced in facilities in a process called cracking. These cracking facilities are major polluters. According to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, each year, 2.25 million tons of carbon dioxide will be released by the largest cracker in North America. Despite their massive carbon emissions, giant oil companies like Shell and ExxonMobil are investing millions of dollars into building new cracking facilities that will boost global plastic production by an estimated 40%. According to EcoWatch, in 2016, around 336 metric tons of plastic was produced, with about half of it intended for single use, much of them being plastic bottles. That same year, 480 billion bottles of water were bought globally. That's about 1 million every minute, or roughly 20,000 every second. But what really goes into making that little everyday item? According to plastics manufacturing industry, it takes 3 liters of water for every liter of bottled water produced, and it takes up to 2,000 times the energy to produce 1 liter of bottled water as it takes to produce the same amount of tap water. The total energy used to produce water bottles in the US alone is the equivalent to 17 million barrels of crude oil. The same amount of energy could power 1 million cars or 190,000 homes for a year. This is a massive amount of energy to make something that we only use for a few minutes before we throw it away. But plastics can linger in our environment for centuries. Plastic bags can last for 10 to 100 years, while other plastic-like bottles can last 450 years to 1,000 years before decomposing.
Most people are familiar with the phrase reduce, reuse, and recycle, and its accompanying logo. In fact, using materials recovered from recycling can save manufacturers enormous amounts of money and energy compared to using raw materials. According to a study done by Penn State University, 1 ton of recycled plastic materials can save 16.3 barrels of oil and 30 cubic yards of landfill space. Recycling other materials such as glass and newspapers can save the equivalent of the annual energy output of 15 power plants. Our recycling habits, however, are sobering to say the least. Based on US EPA data, in 2015, the US recycled 9.1% of the 34.5 million tons of plastic that it produced. 75% of that went to landfill. This number is expected to drop to a staggering 2.9% in 2019, all while production is expected to rise. The environmental impact of this plastic waste cannot be ignored. According to an article appearing in National Geographic, an estimated 8 million metric tons of plastic waste is dumped into the oceans every year. This does irreparable harm to the wildlife and delicate habitats around the world. But there are steps that we can take to reduce our impact, and there is hope on the horizon. If a family of 4 stops using water bottles for 5 years, they could save 4,300 plastic bottles from ending up in landfills. They'd also save an average of $123,000. If everyone in the city of Peoria uses reusable bags for 1 lifetime, we could save 2.5 billion plastic bags from ending up in the environment. The Earth is facing a crisis, but by simply being aware of the problem and reducing our consumption of single-use plastic items, every individual can make a huge impact.